and welcome to the CayVin Universe. Thanks for joining us and hanging out with us again here today on the show. Of course, I'm Vinny Vasquez, joined by the lovely Caylin.
Hello, everyone. If you are new to the show, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below to get to know us better. And if you are returning to the show, welcome back. We love to have you as always. And don't forget, if you aren't already, to follow us on social media at CayVin Universe on all platforms.
Oh yes. Been a few weeks.
Yeah.
Since we released an episode. Of course, as you know, things happen in life, people. But here we are. We're back again, and
life is crazy.
And if there happens to be those times, here and there where you miss a week or we miss 2 weeks from releasing an episode, you can always go on the Patreon for $1 and get all our extra content there. So if you're
CVU raw.
Yeah. So if you've seen all our episodes, first of all, thank you so much, and second of all, if you want more, there's always more there. Just throwing that in there.
Yes.
But today, we had Rick Ornelas on the podcast.
Rick Ornelas, yes, best-selling author, motivational coach, and founder of iSpark Change Movement. Pretty interesting conversation.
No, yeah, he's a good dude. Great conversation. Happy to get to know him and him being a friend of the show now. It was just inspirational, motivational story.
Definitely.
So, yeah, absolutely. So here it is, guys, our conversation. I hope you enjoy it with Rick Ornelas. All right, everybody. So today we got best-selling author, motivational coach, and founder of iSpark Change, Rick Ornelas. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and did I say your name right?
Ornelas, yes.
Ornelas. Okay. I just wanted to make sure of that.
I mean, you were close.
Yeah. So to get started here, could you tell us a little bit basically about your story and how your book, 12 Hours of Heaven, basically came to be?
Oh, wow. That's a big question.
I wanted to jump right into it, but you can kind of start with
just like a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, like kind of like the Rick origin story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha. As far as the Rick origin story is, I am identify mostly as a father and a family guy, not in the Peter Griffin sense of the word, but
right.
in the sense of that my family is everything to me and the reason for everything I do. And I have my wife Tanya, 26 years, and three daughters. My three daughters who are all now fully grown. My youngest just moved out a couple days ago. So,
oh man.
Yeah.
I bet that was tough.
Empty nest, but But yeah, I mean, I am a coach, ultimate success coach, as you said, author, speaker, and founder of iSpark Change, and really for me, I'm really about service and just helping to make others better. I mean, that's really what my life is about, and it hasn't always been that way. And that's really kind of that big change, I guess, in my story, where the book came about and everything was,
right.
Where that came a couple years ago. But, I really feel that everything changed when I discovered my purpose, my true purpose in life, and to love and to give and to serve others. And that's what I've been working towards and embodying in everything that I do and all my work for the past few years.
Wow, absolutely. And so what do you think that, or when did you want to say that you found that purpose?
Yeah.
You said it was a few years ago, or how did that exactly come to be? Because that's something we all kind of have, that we're looking for is, why are we here? What's our purpose?
Right.
You got a chance to kind of explore that a little, I guess, before we fully go into it, I guess I can say. But yeah, how did that come to be?
Yeah, and that's really where that part of the story begins, Vinny, is because a couple years ago when and it's right when the pandemic started and quarantine and lockdown and all of that happened.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, my business suffered to where I lost a bunch of clients, business coaching clients that I had. I was the acting COO for one client, and I was laid off from that position, and I found myself, pretty anxious and despondent, worried about the future because not really having much revenue coming in, and
right.
worrying how I was going to take care of my family and everything.
Oh yeah.
And I went into kind of a challenging place for a short time. And then I thought about it and realized that I was better off than a lot of other people. And I needed to be more grateful and to, practice some things that I coached others about that I wasn't really living by.
Yeah.
And
that's how it works sometimes.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. We don't take our own advice.
Yeah.
So I started writing, and I wrote a blog about using the time as an opportunity. And then that got me into the mode of, focusing on trying to help others and impact others. And that's when I started writing this book that had been in my head for over 20 years.
Wow.
The story had been in my head for over 20 years that became my book, 12 Hours of Heaven, Lessons for a Better World. And I wrote it at that time because I think it was ready to come out. It was ready to come out. And it was in the writing of that book that my purpose was really crystallized, about loving and giving and serving. Because I think the seeds had been planted for that purpose years ago. Yeah. And I just wasn't nurturing them. I wasn't watering, those seeds. I wasn't letting them grow like I should have been, to the level that, that I should have. And then during my writing, I went through this period of like intense spiritual connection and really felt like divinely inspired. And I had, I'd wake up at all hours of the night with different ideas, and my writing, I'd write like 4 or 5 times, what I was writing before in a very short period of time. And in doing all that, that's where my purpose, I really felt that, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to devote your life to. Right. And that's when I created iSpark Change. That's when I said, okay, this is my purpose. This is how I'm going to live and focus on, for the rest of my life. And that's where everything really changed.
Yeah, exactly. When you took those steps.
Yeah. So like iSpark Change, could you tell us like a little bit more about that? Like, I know like obviously like your mission is to be, to bring positive change to people, but like, is there anything else that, that kind of goes into that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Caylin. So it's iSpark Change. We're focused on empowering others to elevate their social impact and spread positive change. And when I first had the idea, probably at 3 a.m. one night during the writing of my book about sparking change, because it is a theme that's woven throughout the book of sparking change with the characters. And when I first had that idea, I wasn't sure what form it was going to take. And I knew that it was about positive change. That was always there. There was going to be about positive change and helping others to, spread positivity and be positive and, change the world for the better. Right. But I didn't know what that was going to look like. It's just like this kind of raw idea. And like, well, what are you going to do with this? Right. And as it developed over a few, over time, over a few months, it evolved into, what it is now with that social impact component and that positive change. And what it looks like on a, tactical basis is that we have our community on social media, where we have, we spotlight others that are doing good work in the world. So we'll spotlight people on our Instagram, and we'll put them on our website, and we show the work of others that we call, social impact heroes that are doing something to positively, impact humanity in some way. Right. And there's hundreds of ways or thousands of ways. And so we try to show a variety of different ways, that we see people spreading that positive change. Yeah. And then also through my coaching, it's just, coaching others to be better, coaching them to, add that impactful component to, have an impact in their work. Right. And those are the two parts. And eventually I'm going to evolve it into a social media platform that's the world's first social media platform that is 100% devoted to connecting people that are doing impactful work. Right. Because there's millions of nonprofits and different organizations and people, and it's just everything's so fragmented. And you could search all over Google and find these things, but to have them all in one central hub where you can be matched up and connect with other people, that doesn't exist.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and that's the future of iSpark Change.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
that's
Yeah, and
really
that's an awesome goal. Yeah, that is. And especially like you said, delivering, showing that, putting a spotlight on it, because especially in 2022, that's something, with the news and everything you see, it's always negativity.
Yeah, we need
So
more
Mhm.
positivity
we need
in
more,
our lives.
yeah, I know others have tried that with, doing good news shows or things like that, but
Right,
like you
yeah.
said, there's no hub for it. And I think that, all together,
Yeah.
if we all just do a little bit of, good change, it makes a big impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing, Vinny, is that it's for years I didn't think that. I think why I hadn't really gone down that road is because I didn't think that I made a difference. Like I'd be like, oh, hey, what's the point of voting? Because it's just one. It's not going to make a difference.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not going to do anything.
Mhm.
And then I came to the realization that no, every person can make a difference just every day with their daily actions, just by smiling at someone that they pass on, in the grocery store, or, waving someone in when they want to change lanes, or, whatever. Like all those little things add up, cumulatively, to make the world a better place and to spread that positive change.
Right.
And, if everybody starts acting with that intention behind it, then, that's when you'll start to see, more and more news about hopefully all the positive acts and everything.
Right.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because in something like you said, smiling at someone or letting somebody go, that small, we don't realize how something that little can affect our day so much. I can be honestly say I'm guilty of, it's like a snowball effect of one thing annoys me and I thinking about that, and then another thing comes up, it's just going to be a snowball effect. But then along those lines, if there's something as simple as someone being kind, that kind of makes you stop and analyze yourself and think, am I being that way? No, I'm not. Let's fix that. So that's definitely a positive message. Wow.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And that snowball effect that you talk about, Vinny, I mean, we in iSpark Change, we always call it the ripple effect. Same metaphor.
Right.
And we talk about what we call a spark moment. And a spark moment would be that, that initial act that leads to that ripple effect or that snowball effect that continues on. And that can be a positive spark moment or a negative spark moment. I mean, you could just as easily, you smile at someone and they're, maybe they're at the lowest point in their day. Maybe they're having a terrible day. Maybe their dog died. I mean, you never know, right? What happened. And by you doing that, it lifts their spirits and they're better off. Conversely, like the example I used earlier of letting the car in on the road, you could give someone the finger and not let them in and, get all ragey and all that stuff. And that's just going to snowball into more anger and more frustration from others. And that doesn't serve anybody,
It doesn't even help the person.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't help anybody. Right.
Yeah,
and so, so it's like, which way do you want that, that snowball to grow, right? In a good way or in a bad way?
Yeah.
Wow. Dang.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's very, very good analogy there. Can we go a little bit too into your book, because I'm very interested in that 12 Hours of Heaven. Can you give us a little detail? Of course, we gotta purchase and read the book,
right?
But could you give us a little more detail, insight on exactly? Well,
what does that mean?
Yeah, you were already talking about how I came to be, but I'm very interested in the story.
Yeah. So there's two really interesting parts to that. One is how I got the idea for the story, and then one is what the story's about. And the story is a fictional tale. It's a fictional story about an angel that is sent down from heaven, and he finds himself trapped in an elevator with 10 strangers, 10 different individuals, and they're trapped overnight for a period of 12 hours, hence the name 12 Hours of Heaven. Now, the other 10 people, they don't know that that he's an angel. They don't know that he's an angel. They think he's just, someone else trapped with them in the elevator. But over that time that they're stuck, he's able to help them all through the biggest challenges that they all have in their lives. And each one is taught a lesson, which the subtitle Lessons for a Better World.
Right.
Those are the lessons that they learn
Mhm.
along the way, and these lessons are not they're things that we've all heard before. They're things that we should practice more of.
Right.
There's things that we should have in greater quantities in our life, like faith or love or practicing gratitude or being present. These are all things that that are simplistic things that unfortunately many of us, we don't do enough of them,
Right.
or don't have enough of these things in our lives. And so with the different backgrounds of the different characters, because they're all totally different, you have an old lady and you have a young girl and you have a veteran, older veteran. There's just a variety of people in there. There's an oil guy from Texas. There's an oil guy from Texas.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. But there's just different ways to relate to the different characters. And people that have reviewed the book and read the book, they tell me that, I related to Betty, or I related to Big John, or I related to Joshua or whomever.
Yeah.
And so there's just a variety of people that that they could relate to.
Yeah, that's like the goal, right? Like you want all of your readers to kind of relate to someone that they're reading about. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So what exactly, like, I know we touched on it, but what exactly like inspired the book? Like, what made you want to, like, I know you said the pandemic and all that, but what was like we talked about that spark moment that's, you just said, I'm just going to go all in and I'm just going to do this.
Yeah, it's really twofold. It's really twofold, Vinny. Right. The original spark moment for my book, where the idea even came from, was much, much earlier, was, over at this point, 22 years ago, right, when I was, my wife and I were living in Southern California. We had 2 daughters at the time. They were very young, 1 and 4. Mm-hmm. And we were coming back from a birthday party that was a couple hours south of where we lived. And so we're driving home on a Sunday afternoon, late afternoon, and it starts to rain really hard. And, here, y'all are from Texas, so we're used to that crazy rain, but in California, not so much. And it was the first time it had rained in a long time, and so the roads were very slick, and we contemplated stopping because of the weather, but it was getting late, and like I said, it was a Sunday, and the kids, they had to go to school and daycare, and we had work in the morning, and so we decided to continue on just slowly and cautiously, but. And we had seen many cars had pulled over because it was just, you couldn't really see. But I continue on, and, probably, in my youth and arrogance, I was like, oh, yeah, it's not that bad. But we were driving in the slow lane, and I end up hitting a large puddle, and we start spinning out of control. We start hydroplaning and spinning out of control. And we spin across 4 lanes to the left, and we're about to hit the center divider. And for whatever reason, we don't hit that center divider, and we spin back the other direction, and we spin back across 4 lanes, the 4 lanes the other way. Mm-hmm. And then we go off the shoulder, and we go up a dirt embankment, and we hit a brick wall, and we flip over completely. Wow. And we land back on the wheels, and the roof is smashed down to like eye level, and the windshield is all shattered, cars filled with glass, and the right side is the glass all shattered. And miraculously, my daughters were completely unscratched. My wife and I completely unscratched. Wow. My wife, she was a little sore on the right side from banging in, but no harm, anything. And we crawl out of the car, and we're just, we're there in the pouring rain, and this elderly couple had pulled over, and the lady grabs a big blanket and wraps it around my wife, and my wife's holding my daughters, just clutching them as tight as she can, and crying and thanking God. And the gentleman tells me that it was the most incredible thing he had ever witnessed, and they thought we were, we weren't going to get out of the car. And even the tow truck driver, thought we were killed.
Oh wow.
And in the time I went through a period of reflection after that accident of,
Yeah.
kind of questioning, what if, and, what was I thinking and everything. And my mom was very convinced that our guardian angel had protected us, and kept us from being harmed. And so she gave me this little guardian angel pin to stick in my car. And so I put that in the visor. And one day, for weeks after that accident, I had to drive a lot for work. So I would kind of sit in my car and just kind of daydream and, think about what had happened and everything. And one day I'm sitting there staring up at that guardian angel pin. And then all of a sudden the idea for the book hit me like I had just watched it as a movie. Like I had just seen it all very, very clear.
Yeah.
And, I was like, wow, this is a really cool story, a really neat story. And I said, oh, I should write this. And so I wrote about a page worth, and then I never did anything with it. I just went back to life and went back to just, not.
Yeah, that happens.
Like I said, that purpose, that seed was like planted, but I never nurtured it. I just kind of went back to, just going about life. And then it wasn't until 2020 when, when I was forced into a corner, if you will, with everything that was going on. And, all of a sudden I had the gift of time, which was I think that was my biggest excuse for not writing, for years was, oh, I don't have the time to write a book. I don't have, time. And all of a sudden, hey, and now I had time. I had more time than I wanted. Like, oh, so I took that time and got the book and I think, I'll just add one last thing is that I think, probably the book wasn't written, not just because I was, being lazy or saying I didn't have time, but because I wasn't ready. I hadn't become the person I needed to become to write the book, to learn those lessons, to have experienced the 20 years of life, to, to gain some wisdom if along the way, that I don't think my, 29-year-old self had the wisdom needed to write that story, that my 49-year-old self had, when I wrote it.
Yeah, you had to go through those life experiences.
Yeah. Definitely.
Wow.
That's what I feel.
Right, and that's amazing, an amazing story. That gave me chills, honestly.
Yeah.
And immediately when you talked about the guardian angel, I immediately thought of the like you said, the angel from your book, that came down in the elevator. So that's already a connection I have right there. So I can't wait to check that out. So is there any other lessons that you've learned along the way that you would like to share? Just about yourself, about the journey, about your, just inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the biggest one, aside from the 10 lessons that are shared in the book.
Absolutely.
And this is not one from the book, but the biggest one is just the value of time. I think as a younger man, I was always in a rush. I was always, and not so much in a rush, like, hey, I'm always late trying to get somewhere, but in a rush is that I didn't have that presence with others, that I have right now with you of, I'm, totally focused on you and always thinking about the next thing and the next thing and kind of living in the future and not being present. And, in coaching a lot of others, I've realized that, a lot of people live in the past and a lot of people live in the future and not everyone is focused on, what's right in front of them in the present. And so, I'd say just the value of that time, because as now I'm, like I said, my youngest daughter just moved out a few days ago, and now all my kids are out, empty nest and everything. You start to get that, nostalgia for that time when they were young or from, when you had a house full and
of course.
And so I'd say for anyone is that, time is just the most precious resource we have, more valuable than money or diamonds or gold or anything, because it's so finite.
Right.
And you never know when, 22 years ago, that could have been it for me, and my family, and it could all been over right there. And thankfully it wasn't.
Right.
But you never know when that clock runs out.
Absolutely.
And so to really, place a value on that, and all the people that, are a part of your life. I think that's really the biggest one amongst any other thing I've learned, is that,
Right.
that is just so precious.
Yeah.
Wow. And that definitely, that hits home to me, because, I try not to be that way all the time, but there's definitely times where I harp on the past too much, or I'm thinking about, the future, like, oh, what's going to happen? How's our life going to look in a year and 2 years and 3 years? But you're right. It's like, we're not even guaranteed that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the best way you can impact the future, Vinny, is like, in coaching people, right? It's great to have goals. I'm a big goals guy. I'm always talking to my people I coach about having goals, and hey, you're working towards, X, or you're trying to accomplish this. That's great. What can happen is people can only be working towards that or living for that, and then they miss what's right in front of them. And the way to get there is just to focus on, the day-to-day, everything. Like, you don't climb Mount Everest by going from, the bottom to the summit, right? You climb by one step, every little step, the thousands of steps or whatever it takes to get up there. You don't just transport immediately right there. So if you're just focusing on that one step, then you're always going to be in the moment and present. And then, hey, yes, in a year, 2 years, whatever you're working on, yes, you will get there. And then you can also look back and say, hey, look at what I've accomplished. I've climbed that mountain, I've gone through all this. Then you can kind of bask in that glory. And that's when it's good to, look back and say, wow, look at all the, the wonderful things I've accomplished and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And I think a lot of people too, is they want it to happen super quick too, with that future, with those goals. They want it to happen super quick. And we got to understand sometimes, like, or, not even sometimes, mostly all the time, unless you really have, the connections or the way to get there. Mostly all the time. I would say 99.9% of the time, it's going to be a waiting, waiting term like that. But so, that's definitely a good message. So how can you share your website, any social medias you have, and of course how people can check out the book?
Thank you for asking, because the iSpark Change community is really, big passion, what we want to grow, as much as we can before we kind of convert over to the social media platform. And it's really easy. It's just the letter I, Spark Change, on every platform. So on Instagram, it actually has underscores, I_Spark_Change. But if you type in iSpark Change, it pops up.
Right.
But our website is just isparkchange.com. And, there they can see some of the social impact heroes, or join the community. And joining the community, you can obviously follow us on social media, on Instagram or on TikTok, or, different places. But by joining the community, we just put out a monthly newsletter that we share about, some social impact heroes, and we share the people that we spotlighted on our social media. And then we share, some topic about, social impact and something that's going on. And then, we don't spam, we don't send a bunch of junk. We don't do anything like that. But, like, as I said, in the next year, that's when we'll start to develop that social media platform. And so anyone that's, following us on social media, that's joined the community on the website, they'll be the first to hear about, the new platform. So
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll just add that, since you brought it up, 12 Hours of Heaven, it's on Amazon. Absolutely. It's on, Google Play. I actually just added an audio book on Google Play a couple months ago.
Nice. I was just going to ask about that. I still like reading the physical book, but I know there's a lot of people nowadays that prefer audiobooks. So that's an awesome option to have. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or add before we go?
No, I would just say that, kind of what I touched on a little bit before is that, for all of your listeners, is just to really believe that they can make a difference in the world, that they can spread positive change, that their actions do matter every day, and to go out every day and be intentional about, about those actions, and, smile at the stranger, or
Yeah.
wave that person in front of you in the, in the, on the freeway, just because that's all going to make a difference. I mean, it all adds up. And what you'll find when you start acting with that intentionality is that you're the one that benefits the most, right? I mean, you're doing all these positive acts for other people, but you're the one that benefits the most, because you feel the best. You're just happier and more fulfilled, and so you end up winning. So for anyone, if you want to know the secret to winning, it's just start giving more, and you'll end up winning. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful message. I really thank you for coming on and, spreading your, your thoughts and your opinions on this and your positivity. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just made me us feel better,
Yeah. Like you definitely inspired us, because, I was, especially today, like I would just share a little bit about my day. I'm just, where we live out in the country, it's 30 minutes away to go to the nearest town. And out here in Central Texas, it is just super hot. So, you're going to town, even you have the AC on the car, but the second you get out of the car, it's super hot. You're frustrated. Town's busy. Yeah. There's lines everywhere. You get frustrated. But then I had a moment where I just had one person today that was just gave me that kindness. And like I said, I was giving an analogy earlier for what happened today, but it made me stop. And I said, maybe things aren't so bad. Things could always be worse. Let me just stop. And our little problems of just these, whatever we think is going on, it's sometimes when we take that step back, we realize it's not as big as we make it out to be.
Right.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, very true. So thank you for sharing that, because it's, those are the kind of things that people can relate to, those stories that connect us all, and realize that, there are these little things can make a difference, make a positive difference. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you very much for having me on. It's been a pleasure and honor to be on your show.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, yes, thank you so much. And thank you for inspiring us. And you have a great rest of your day.